Hello, Internet! Tonight we read Horton Hears a Who. Who is excited for Horton to hear a woohoo?
Horton Hears a Who.
A who? Why, it starts with a W, sir.
A who?
It's clearly a woohoo.
Dad,
What?
Horton hears a...
My children are telling me this is called Horton Hears a Who, but it starts with a W, so I'm assuming it's a woohoo. Or maybe this is all one word down here at the bottom, and it says Horton Hears a Who. Like maybe somebody sneezed. I'm not trying to read what's on your phone right now. I'm trying to read Horton Hears a Woohoo. Or maybe Horton hears a whoo. Perhaps Horton hears a sneeze in this book. I don't know. We're going to read it together and find out what exactly Horton hears. Who is Horton, you're asking? I'm assuming he's this elephantine fellow here. We will learn more as we read Horton Hears a Woohoo live for my friends here on Facebook. What? Horton Hears a Woohoo. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the Words are difficult sometimes. And I have like a weird hair on my mustache that's like just burnt. I don't know. I got it. Okay. He was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. A woohoo, if you will. Well, look, here's a picture of Horton hearing a great noise. Hearing a small noise that will turn out to be a woohoo, I believe. He keeps telling me it's called who. I don't think so. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked toward the sound. That's funny, thought Horton. There's no one around. Then he heard it again, just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton, but who are you? Where? Oh, who are you, he says. That type of who. Okay, who. Got it. He looked and he looked. He could see nothing there but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. I say, murmured Horton, I've never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So you know what I think? Why, I think that there must be somewhere on top of that small speck of dust some sort of a creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes. This is Horton inspecting the small speck of dust for a creature, a woohoo, if you will. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him, because after all, a person's a person, no matter how small. Oh, look, there's a very tiny person on top of the speck of dust. And who, may I ask, is that person? I believe he is the titled Woo. So gently, and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over, and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. It doesn't look like a clover to me. It looks more like a dandelion. Little puffy ones. But, you know, whatever. Maybe Dr. Seuss's clovers are different. Humphed a voice. 'Twas a sour kangaroo, and a young kangaroo in her pouch said, humph, too. Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there never has been. Is a skeptical that's the voice of a skeptical kangaroo. I don't know if you've ever heard a skeptical kangaroo, but they sound exactly like that. Every skeptical kangaroo I've ever spoken with. Believe me, said Horton, I'll tell you sincerely, my ears are quite keen, and I heard him quite clearly. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's 2, even 3, even 4. Quite likely a family for all that we know, a family with children just starting to grow. So please, Horton said, as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be. You look at those small people on the speck of dust. I think you're a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, Me too. You're the biggest blame fool in the jungle to Newell. And the kangaroos plunged in the cool of the pool. What terrible splashing! The elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked up the clover and hustled away. Now I think I'm done with the skeptical kangaroo voice. Through the high jungle treetops, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower. And Horton walked worrying almost an hour. Should I put this speck down? Horton thought with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put it down, and I won't. After all, a person's a person, no matter how small. That was my voice for a monkey making fun of an elephant. Every time I've ever heard a monkey make fun of an elephant, they sounded exactly like that. Why are you all laughing at me?
I don't know if I've ever heard a monkey making fun of an elephant.
You've never heard a monkey making fun of an elephant?
No, because I've never.
You've got to listen more closely when we go to the zoo.
There's not elephants at our zoo.
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there
Yeah,
are.
there are.
There are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She also forgot that Dr. Seuss was dead.
I'm going to keep reading. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. The voice was so faint he could just barely hear it. Speak up, please, said Horton. He put his ear near it. My friend, came the voice, you're a very fine friend. You've helped all us folks on this dust speck no end. You've saved all our houses, our ceilings and floors. You've saved all our churches and grocery stores. That's right. The Who has the voice of the cowardly lion. You mean, Horton gasped, you have buildings there too? Oh yes, piped the voice, we most certainly do. I know, called the voice, I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us who aren't big, they are wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, for I am a Who, and we Whos are all thankful and grateful to you. And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, you're safe now, don't worry, I won't let you down. Now you can see Whoville and all the wonderful Whos.
That's a big town. Actually,
It's a big town, but it's all on a little speck of dirt. So now what I wonder is, because we've got Whoville here, and if you recall, when the Grinch steals Christmas, who's he steal it from? The Who's down in Whoville. So is the Grinch on this speck of dust?
maybe.
With all the Who's? It's crazy. Let's keep reading. But just as he's... Huh? But just as he's... I'm sorry, Arthur. Go ahead. I'll finish the book later. What's going on?
We're learning it. There's a lot of speck of dust.
No one on the live video can hear you. I'm going to go ahead and read, okay? He keeps yelling at me things. But just as he spoke to the mayor of the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, What rot! This elephant's talking to Who's and who are not. There aren't any Who's and they don't have a mayor. And we're going to stop all this nonsense, so there. See? Monkeys bullying an elephant. Once again, they sound like that, like I said. They snatched Horton's clover. They carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vladikoff, a mighty strong eagle of very swift wing. And they said, Will you kindly get rid of this thing? And before the poor elephant even could speak, that eagle flew off with the flower in his beak. Well, that's just terrible. All that late afternoon and far into the night, the black-bottomed bird flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, Please don't harm all my little folks who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do. But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder called back, "Quit ya yappin'! I'll fly the night through. I'm a bird, I don't mind it. And I'll hide this tomorrow. Well, you'll never find it." Apparently, in my world, all the mean monkeys and eagles are from New York. I don't know. And at 6:56 the next morning, he did it. It sure was a terrible place that he hid it. He let that small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers 100 miles wide. "Find that!" sneered the bird. "I think you will fail." And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. I thought clovers were green. None of those flowers are green. This is weird. "I'll find it!" cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust! I shall find my friends on my small speck of dust." And clover by clover by clover, with care, he picked up and searched them and called, "Are you there?" But clover by clover by clover, he found that the one he sought for was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. That's a lot of clovers. 3 big old piles over here of clovers. Searching through them. He's killing all these clovers that he's plucking too, by the way, just for the record. Then on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he find them at last on the 3 millionth flower. "My friends," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell, are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well?" I mean, the Lorax would definitely have something to say to Horton for picking 3 million flowers out of the ground. I don't know how I feel about all this. From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. We had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed boy he let go and we dropped, we landed so hard that our quacks have all stopped. Our teapots are broken, our rocking chairs smashed, and our bicycle tires all blew up and we crashed. So Horton, please, pleaded the voice of the mayor's, will you stick by us who's while we're making repairs? Of course, Horton answered, of course I will stick. I'll stick by you small folks through thin and through thick. Humph, humphed a voice. For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chanting with persons for almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who've never existed. Such carrying-ons in our peaceable jungle, we've had quite enough of your bellowing bungle. And I'm here to state, snapped the big kangaroo, that your silly, nonsensical game is all through. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too. Oh. This is terrible. It's terrible. With the help of the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped and you're going to be caged. And as for your dust specks, ha! That we shall boil in a steaming hot kettle of hazelnut oil. But boil it, gasped Horton. Oh, that you can't do. It's full of persons. They'll prove it to you. They're going to boil Whoville. I don't think... This kangaroo might be worse than the Grinch. The Grinch just stole Christmas. He's going to steal their lives. Mr. Mayor! Mr. Mayor! Horton called. Mr. Mayor! You've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting. Get everyone out. Make every who holler. Make every who shout. Make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in a hazelnut stew. And down on the dust speck, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting in Whoville Town Square. And as people cried loudly, they cried out in fear, we are here! We are here! We are here! We are here! The elephant smiled. That was clear as a bell. You kangaroos surely heard that very well. All I heard, snapped the big kangaroo, was the breeze and the faint sound of wind through the far distant trees. I heard no small voices, and you didn't either. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me neither. Grab him, they shouted, and cage the big dope. Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so that he'll never shake loose. Then dunk that dumb speck of the bezelnut juice. Horton fought back with great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too many for him. They beat him, they mauled him, they started to haul him into his cage, but he managed to call to the mayor, "Don't give up, I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small. And you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come on now and try." Sad. The mayor grabbed a tom-tom. He started to smack it. And all over Whoville they whooped up a racket. They rattled tin kettles. They beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots on clarinets, oompas, and boompas and flutes. Maybe some rhythmic percussion will get the kangaroo's attention, I guess, is the theory. I'm not sure. It's going to work. Great gusts of loud racket rang high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky, and the mayor called up through the howling, mad hullabaloo, "Hey, Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through?" And Horton called back, "I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every Who down in Whoville is working quick? Look through your town. Is there anyone shirking?" Through the town rushed the mayor from the east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping. But it wasn't enough. All this ruckus and roar, he had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building. He searched floor to floor. And just as he felt he was getting nowhere, and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mayor discovered one shirker, one quite hidden away, in the Fairfax apartments, apartment 12J. He was very small shirker named Jojo. Was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo, not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp. And the mayor rushed inside and grabbed the young twerp. And he climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. "This," cried the mayor, "is your town's darkest hour. The time for all Whos who have blood that is wed to come to the aid of their country," he said. "We've got to make noises in greater amounts, so open your mouth wide, for every voice counts." Thus he spoke as he climbed. When they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and shouted out, "Yop!" And that yop, that one small extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on the clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean. And the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons, no matter how small. And their whole world was saved by the smallest of all." "How true, yes, how true," said the big kangaroo. "And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do. From now on, I'm going to protect them with you." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too. From the sun in the summer, from rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them, no matter how smallish." And that is the end of Horton Hears a Who. I thought it might be Horton Hears a Woohoo, or Horton Hears a Who. But it turns out Horton heard a Who from down in Whoville.
Told you.
My kids are smart
Told
Alex.
you.
My kids are smart Alex. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Tomorrow night, and Sunday night, we're taking the weekend off, obviously. Monday night, we'll be back, though, with our first sequel book. Because if you remember, on July 1st, we read The Cat in the Hat. And Monday night, we're going to read The Cat in the Hat Comes Back. He's back for round 2. Look out, what will he do? I rhyme just like Dr. Seuss sometimes. And then We've got a couple more books before we get to next Thursday night when we read the sequel to Horton Hears a Who, called Horton Hatches an Egg. Very exciting. We got lots of cool stuff coming. We got 2 more weeks of Dr. Seuss month. And then I think in August we're going to start reading Grimm's Fairy Tales. That'll be interesting. And they're all very short, but I quite enjoy the ones I've read so far. So we'll see. I'm not sure. If you got better suggestions, please leave them in the comments or something. Otherwise, I think that's the plan. Good night, everyone. I'll see you on Monday.